My guest today is Jens Willemen. Jens is a partner and he's a co-founder at Kairon Labs. Kiron Labs, of course, is an advisor and a crypto market maker for, I suppose, digital asset issuers. Yeah, welcome to the show, Jens.
Hey, good morning. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be super cool if you could, please introduce yourself. Would love to hear some of your personal and professional backstory. What have you been doing in the lead up to co-founding Kiron Labs?
Sure. I think it's a quite traditional story. So I've been working in traditional finance before a friend pulled me into crypto, which is something I'm very thankful for, obviously. So basically, just working at a financial institution before getting into crypto. I also studied finance. So I mean, markets are markets, right? So the move from the traditional market to the digital asset market wasn't that hard. So it's a kind of a natural step, I believe, for many people who are following the same trajectory.
Yes, indeed. That is very well said. All right. Well, look, it'd be great to learn a little bit about Kairon Labs. So, I said that Kairon Labs is an advisor and market maker. But yeah, just lay it out a bit more. Give us the kind of the high level summary or vision for Kairon Labs and what you guys do, Jens.
Yeah, sure. So basically, when we started the firm, which was in 2019, it's a while ago, we found that there was really a big need for ethical market making services in the market, right? Back in the day, now you have a lot of firms who do what we do, but back in the day, they were only a real handful. And some of them weren't very ethical or didn't have the project's best needs in mind sometimes. So we noticed that there was a big gap for that. So that's something we thought, okay, let's start filling that gap, right? Of being like a trusted party based in the EU. So that's kind of what we did. And then along the way, we also figured, okay, there is the pure market making, the liquidity provision, which I'm sure we'll go into more later. But there's also a component of helping these these asset teams, these digital asset teams launch their project, right? Because these guys are often doing it for the first time. And we have worked with a lot of teams before, done a lot of launches as a market maker. So we can then also help them and advise them so they don't make the typical mistakes. That's kind of the goal.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. I think it'd be useful, Jens, just for most people to be aware. But I'd love it if you could just give like a super quick explanation of market making, and then secondly, ethical market making. And if that's the case, that's what is needed. That's what you guys do. I suppose the other side of that, what does manipulative market making look like?
Sure. Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconception about that in the industry, right? A true market maker is providing liquidity. What does that mean? It means that a market maker should allow other market participants to enter and exit positions without too much slippage, right? So we should allow other people to come in and trade these assets without them moving the market too much or causing too much of an impact, right? So we should really be guiding a healthy market and making sure that other people can trade freely. That's what a true market maker should do. In crypto, there's often a misconception where you should hire a market maker if you want to have your token price go up, or if you want to, I don't know, do some malicious schemes. But that's not what a true market maker should do at all, right? Those companies that provide those services should not be called market makers in the first place. They're just market manipulators, right? So that's something we have been fighting against for a long time. And sometimes we really do get these requests from teams who really don't understand what market making is about. And they want us to do a bunch of stuff which really we're for sure not okay doing. And it's something we don't do at Kairon, being a Belgium, Europe-based company. Yeah.
So you're talking about like wash trading and yeah, fake, just manipulating volume to entice new market participants and then dump on them and things like that. That's kind of what we mean by manipulative market making.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we don't like. We don't like. Is the industry getting better, Jens? Because and one of the with the rise of like DEXs, decentralized exchanges, it's harder to fake that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. With DEXs, there's more transparency, as we all know, so it's harder to fake that stuff. Of course, then people are coming up with smart solutions, automated systems who can create a lot of wallets and withdraw from centralized exchanges to obstruct everything. It's always like that, right? People always find solutions to still being able to manipulate. But for sure, with DEXs, it got harder, um, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Yep. So, well, as you said, then Jens, one of the I guess the core idea behind market making is to provide that liquidity, and of course, there's a saying in all markets, liquidity begets liquidity. So, people want to trade liquid assets. Funny thing about crypto now, Jens, is there's the top 10 crypto assets by market capitalization, which are all, at this stage pretty liquid, just due to their high market capitalization, and they're on a whole bunch of exchanges and all sorts of other platforms all around the world. But if you go down the long tail of crypto assets, that liquidity does start to dry out. Is that like how do you kind of think about that in terms of I guess from the perspective of someone that would come to you, a potential client, and they've got a new token that they want to launch. It's such a competitive market environment now. If you're going to launch a new token, what are the kind of the steps you would take, or what would you say to them in terms of trying to help them deploy their token and access some of that liquidity?
Sure, that's a really good question, actually. So, when we got started in 2019, there were not that many launches, right? Not everyone was launching a token. I think the barrier to entry was also higher, and it wasn't just a thing that people were doing too much of in general. So then every launch still had a lot of attention to it, right? Now, I mean, in our team, when the market is hot, I think we have about 4 to 5 launches per day where we're the market maker per day, right? That's a pretty high number, right? That's a lot of tokens and not so much attention and liquidity from market to get into all those tokens, right? So that's a bit what changed. And then obviously now very recently we had the whole thing with Pump Fund and all the tokens on Solana, which went absolutely crazy, right? The amount of tokens that were launched there. So the market is very competitive. And that's where we actually help the founders we work with, right? So we help them prepare for their TGE because you only have one chance when you launch the token for a TGE. You only have one opportunity. And usually on the TGE, you have the highest trading volume and the best the best opportunity for good price action, right? So you want to maximize that moment in time. So we help the founders by advising them, for example, what exchanges should you list on, which ones you should prevent, because some really show good numbers, but then when you get into it, the numbers are fake. It's not real. So we obviously, by market making and trading on all these venues, we know where there is the real user base and the real liquidity. So we advise the founders to go there. Which trading pairs should you go with? It even goes as far as what hour and what day of the week you should list on, because that's not equal at all, right? Some days and hours are better than others where more people are online and where things just where it's just a better time. So that's something we help with. We also help them connect with potential investors like VCs or maybe angels or KOLs. So we do open up our network that we built over the years for these teams, and we connect them with people where we believe that they also will act in an ethical way and where they can also add value to the token launch. So that's, I think, the main thing. And obviously, we see if you do 5 launches a day, you really get to know the best practices quite quickly, right? So you see, okay, there's 5 launches today. 2 of them performed really well. What did those guys do? And then we can translate those best practices to the advisory clients we work with.
Yeah, very, very well said, Jens. And you said that when the market is hot, you might be overseeing or helping 5 new token launches a day. So, what does the market look like at the moment at this point in 2025? Like, how busy are you guys, and what does that say about, I guess, the market structure or sentiment at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. I think the market is not hot at all at the moment. There's not many launches happening. We barely have a few a week at the moment, which is something we also recommend our founders now not to launch at the moment, because the market is not in a risk on attitude at the moment, right? So people are not willing to buy new tokens for the moment. So it's not a good time to launch in general. There are always exceptions, and some categories of the market will still perform, but in general, it's not the best time to launch. We use that time then to reconvene internally on our side, and there's more time to work on processes, on optimizing algorithms, and so on. So we're always quite busy, because there's always something to do. It's never a finished product in our business. But token launch wise, it's quite calm now, and the sentiment is quite low, right? I think that's obvious. But I mean, we've been doing this as a company full time since 2019, so we've seen a few of these moments in throughout time where things absolutely died out, and this is usually a really good time and a really good cleanse, because all the people that really come for the quick wins, they get flushed out now, because it's very hard now to launch and to gain traction. And then the real builders who have good intentions, they stay, and then they have a chance on the next run to launch their token and to have good performance.
Yeah. Very well said indeed. Very good observations there, Jens. Just curious, what is describe a kind of the typical team that would come to you guys? Is there any sort of similarities between the different projects, and what are some of the I don't know, things that they should look out for, or mistakes that they make, or things that they do right? What are some points you'd give people?
Yeah. So we work with usually, so we're quite strict on who we work with, right? So there is a real filtering process on our side, which begins with like an intake conversation. So we get to know the team. What we don't like to do is work with people that we're not aligned with ethically, or whatever, on whatever other level. So we really try to figure out in beginning, on the people side, like, is this a team that we really want to work with? Because we're going to be communicating every day for a while, right? So you really want to be aligned. And then, there's obviously a bunch of legal assessment on our side as well. We have quite a strict, I think, a very strict compliance process. So these teams go through a lot of KYC, AML screening as well. And then we check if everything checks out and everything is legitimate. Their corporate setup is works, and that kind of stuff. And then, I mean, usually at that point, after the onboarding, we try to look at what they have already, in terms of token launch setup. And then we like, one of the mistakes is if they come very late. Sometimes we got teams that come to us 2-3 days before launch, and they're like, "Hey guys, we need a market maker. Da da da. We're launching there." And then it's like, okay, all hands on deck. Sometimes we can still take them on, if it's a good opportunity. But usually that's already a sign of like, oh god, these guys are not prepared. This is going to be a bit of a big mess, right? Because usually you should be, I mean, picking a market maker and setting everything up is not a small feat. You should be really well prepared in advance on that. So that's a big mistake that a lot of teams make, is leaving that to the last moment and then figuring out, and then trying to figure everything out so quickly is very hard. That's something I would really recommend everyone who's listening. If you're looking to launch a token, please start speaking to a few different parties, a few different market makers well in advance, so you can pick the right one and also get to know them, so you can really align on everything.
Yeah, very, very good advice. What about the trading side of things, Jens? So you do like algorithmic trading, right? So I guess do you do that kind of like on behalf of clients? I'm sure you do that yourself. Yeah, just explain a little bit more about the trading side of things.
Yeah. So as a market maker, obviously the algorithms, everything is done through algos, right? So we're not doing it manually, although there is manual intervention and oversight needed all the time, right? So these algorithms are not fully AI powered, as some people might think, where you just flip on the switch and things are running. So you do need a lot of configuration and monitoring of the algorithms. This is important because these crypto markets, the markets that we trade in, are often not very liquid. So there's a lot of risk management needed, right? So you can't leave things running, unmonitored for too long, or you will have some unpleasant surprises where other market participants start abusing you because they figure out how the algorithm works or whatever, right? There's a few things that can happen. So on the algo trading side, it's mostly about risk management, to be honest, and just preventing large drawdowns and large skewing of the inventory and stuff like that.
And I mean, you said at the beginning, Jens, that markets are markets, but there are differences between, I guess, crypto asset markets, crypto trading, and traditional finance, or I guess equities. What are the? Can you kind of think of some similarities and also some differences in the algos?
Yeah, I mean, on the centralized exchanges, it's very similar to TradFi. There's an order book, there's a bid and ask, there's a spread, so that's all very similar. The mechanics are very, very similar to TradFi. I think one of the main differences is obviously DEXs. It's something that doesn't exist in TradFi, but also the liquidity, the amount of liquidity in the markets, right? So stocks usually have quite a bit of liquidity. They have quite a bit of organic liquidity usually. In crypto, this is a lot less, right? So I think that in crypto, and the market's more volatile, so you even need a lot more risk management than in TradFi on that level, at least. So this is something that we work on heavily, and I would say a lot of the time that we put into the algorithms consists out of risk management practices.
Yeah. Very well said. As you guys are based in the EU. There's obviously different regulations, different laws, different rules, and different jurisdictions around the world. How difficult does that make it for different market makers, depending on where they are based in the world and the different, I guess, places that they operate?
Yeah, that's a good question. It makes it quite complex, to be honest. We have a compliance team and they have their hands full with this, right? Because indeed, the token issuers, they're based everywhere. So the clients, they're based everywhere. We have an entity in the EU. So it really takes it really takes a good setup and a good preparation to onboard all the clients in a legitimate way, right? So it is possible, but I think that's for sure one of the secret sauces of running a legitimate market maker these days. It's not only about the algorithms, the trading, all the fancy stuff. It's also just about having that infrastructure and that framework to be able to legally onboard clients in a compliant way. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Are there too many tokens? Is it just overwhelming for crypto traders, Jens, or is it a good thing that anyone can issue a token and eventually everything will be tokenized? And everyone will be freely able to trade whatever they want. Is that kind of where we're heading? People talk about alt season, and maybe the kind of traditional alt season isn't really possible anymore, just because the liquidity is spread so thin, the attention is spread so thin. Yeah, how do you think about all this stuff?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. I think you have the answer in your question already. I do think there's too many tokens. Um, for me personally, it doesn't make sense. What I'm seeing in terms of, the stuff that's being tokenized and the amount of things that are being launched. And as you pointed out, yeah, it there's just too many tokens. There's not enough attention and not enough liquidity to go around, right? So everyone was expecting the typical alt season where you just spray and pray, you buy a bunch of coins, and then the tides rises, and your portfolio goes up with the market. But that wasn't the case this time, right? In the months before, in the cycle that we just been through, you really had to be in the right coins, or you were being left behind quite badly, and you often even lost, right? You had a drawdown. So this is, I think, a new thing, where you really have to do a lot more diligence when you invest in these tokens, and you have to make sure that you're in the right ones, because it's not like the old days anymore where you had just any alts and you would just be floating up with all the rest. It doesn't work anymore. Indeed, the reason is because there is too many of them and there's not enough attention to go around. This is quite interesting, but I think this is also a normal evolution of markets, right? Where there's non-serious stuff, it doesn't perform anymore like it used to, and I think that's probably a good thing, because the attention should go towards the teams that are building and providing the most value, right? It shouldn't just be everyone's winning because the market's green.
Yeah, very well said. Well, with that in mind, then, what do you think is, I guess, the future of market making, Jens? How do you see kind of your services evolving as the markets evolve over the years ahead?
Yeah. I think compliance is a big thing now. I think in the future things will be even more regulated, especially in the EU now. That's a hot topic, and we're working on that diligently. So I think market makers will become more regulated. There's going to be less wiggle room to do naughty stuff, for sure, in the future. We've seen it with, for example, Binance. Last couple of weeks, days, they released some articles about market makers, participating in market manipulation. So I think there's going to be more transparency also around what market makers are doing, because this is something I think that the regulators will require. So the people in Web3, they will get more insights, I think, into what market makers are doing, and then I think it's good that you're on the right side of history by doing everything correctly and transparently. So I think that's a big thing. And then who knows, maybe there will be some new innovations in terms of exchanges. Decentralized exchanges will probably evolve more than what they are now, because I think that's also needed. But yeah, let's see. I don't know. The only obvious thing, in my opinion, is the regulation and the compliance side. That's going to be tightened heavily, and the firms that cannot follow that route, I think they will drop off quite quickly.
Yeah, yeah. What about, I guess I'm in New Zealand, so I'm happily feeling neutral on this stuff. But if you're in the EU and kind of looking across at what's happening in America taking quite a radical pivot towards crypto, becoming much friendlier to crypto assets under new President Trump and his team. We've got a crypto czar. We've got a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It looks like the SEC is really loosening its grip. Do you ever sort of look across and think, wow, America's really got it going on? Perhaps it'd be great if the EU could catch up.
Yeah, for sure, right? I think no, for sure. I think they're going now in opposite directions where before the EU didn't really have much going, and now they implemented MiCA, which in my opinion is a bit too strict. It's really strict. And then in the US, we used to, and we still don't onboard any US clients because we just didn't know how to cope with their framework, basically. But now this is all changing, and it's interesting for sure. And I think that the EU should also find a middle ground, because else they will be left out with because everyone will do stuff now in the US, right? So, but I think they will figure this out quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, we just have to hope. So, well, look. As we start to finish off this part of the podcast, Jens, just anything that we should know about what you guys are doing at Kairon Labs? Anything, I guess, coming down the product pipeline, and for people that are interested in any of your services, whether they are a team with a TGE coming up or anything like that, or they need some liquidity added to their token. Yeah, what's the best place for people to go to learn more and get in touch and so on?
Go to the website kaironlabs.com. There's a lot of information on there. You can reach out there through the form. Then you will go directly to the people in the BD team who will happily help with any questions that people might have. In terms of product pipeline, you know, it's a pretty mature product that we have. So we have the market making on one side for the projects that just maybe they're already listed or they're going towards TGE. If you need a market maker, feel free to reach out. We can send you a proposal and then you can compare. I always advise to compare a few different market makers and proposals because for sure it's not a one size fits all. And you have to really, I think, be aligned with the people you work with. And then on the advisory side, I think a lot of teams could really use the kind of help that we're providing there, so they don't fall into the typical, mistakes and traps that we can easily avoid with our experience of being involved in so many launches.
Yes, indeed. Very well said. The website is in the show notes, listeners. But yeah, chironlabs.com. And well, Jens, it's time to finish up the podcast, and we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Sure, let's try.
All right, let's try, Jens. I'm just going to run some questions at you, and I just want you to give me your honest answers. It's just a bit of fun. Let's see what you have to say. Question one for you is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I think there I'm in the middle. To be honest, I'm quite neutral. Reason is because obviously our clients, they're all challengers, right? So we see a lot of stuff and there's often a lot of good innovation there. But I also do believe that, there's a lot of value still in holding BTC and in that narrative of digital gold. I'm a real believer there too. Yeah.
Very much agree. Very well said. All right. Well, what would you say, Jens, is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
That's a good one. I think my maybe it's a bit controversial, but I don't think everything can and should be tokenized. I think you should really ask yourself, does this thing really need a token, or can I replace the token rather with a stable coin and with the system work maybe even better? Teams should really wonder and try that exercise. That's maybe a controversial thing because we're in that market, but not everything needs a token, in my opinion.
Yeah, quite a sensible take. Thank you, Jens. All right. Well, look, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years. And crypto is a long time, Jens. But so anything you like here, crypto trading, exchanges, Kairon Labs, Web3, tokens, tokenization. What does it all look like in 10 years' time?
I think, again, way more regulated, more streamlined, and probably way more serious innovations with lesser teams building, but more serious stuff and more follow through, right? So I think now, I mean, we've been doing the same thing since 2019, basically. We found a product market fit on the Kairon Labs side, and we're executing on that vision, on that mission. I think a lot of token issuers throw in the towel a bit too early when they face adversity, and I think that's something that's really going to change. It's going to become more like the traditional startup space where you hold on and you repivot and you don't quit and launch a new token so rapidly. I think that's something that will change in the future, which will be enforced by regulation, making the whole token launches and the whole what the token issuers do. They will make it more transparent.
Yep. Very well said. All right. William Gibson famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Jens, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
I think stable coins, I think us who are in the crypto ecosystem, for us, it's a given. We all transact in stables. It's a very easy way to transfer value and to get paid and to pay each other. I think that's something that it's maybe one of the biggest innovations in crypto, to be very honest, where you can so easily, without a bank, transact value. And I think this is something that the rest of the world hasn't really picked up yet on how good this is and how useful this is.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer and 100% true, and amazing to see that America. We talked about America before, but America seemed to be going. They want to go all in on stablecoins as a way of, I guess, projecting the strength of the US dollar. So yeah, that's kind of crazy as well. But yeah, fascinating. Look, brings us really to the final question, Jens, which is a curveball. It is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
I'm not a big reader, to be honest. Let me
TV, you watch
think.
a bit of Netflix, sci-fi on Netflix, surely.
Very rarely. Let's say Blade Runner.
Oh, superb choice. Yeah, very good, very good. Do androids dream of electric sheep? I think that was the Philip K. Dick short story that Blade Runner was based on. But yeah, Blade Runner. Great selection, Jens.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show. It was a pleasure for me as well. Just finish it out by, again, telling people where they can go to learn all about Kairon Labs. Shout out your socials, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Go to KaironLabs.com. We have a lot of info on the website, and you can also reach us directly via the website. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jens. All the best, and bye for now.
Thank you.